we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast, hit us up on our DMs, on the X, on Instagram, at the Bigmark Pod, at the Bigmark Podcast. Hit us up if you want to hear a new episode, if you want to let us know how you feel about something. You can always donate to the podcast on our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. If you are watching on YouTube, like the videos, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And today is one, I kind of wanted to keep this one short and sweet, funny enough, because, well, it's been a bit of a week dealing with a little bit of a sinus infection type scenario. But also, I think the aches and pains associated with it have really exacerbated my own aches and pains that I kind of deal with on the daily. I mean, many moons ago, many podcasts ago, I did do a podcast on pain, just pain. That was a little bit more of an overarching kind of thing, but talked a lot about, I have a lingering shoulder injury, that since I started working out again, I've kind of admittedly maybe went a little bit too hard right off the bat with the stuff that hurts the shoulder. But then, I felt like my back has started to bother me a little bit more. And, it from time to time, there's issues with it where, I've heard it. So I guess I should take us all the way back to my third year university. It's between second and third year. I'm training for football. Like, I'm training to play at, I'm following our strength and conditioning coach's protocol too. So I've been following this system. I'm not like, I wasn't doing anything weird, but I was training, and, I was in the best shape probably of my life at that point, to be truthfully honest. Really strong, really fit, just all around. Again, being trained by a world-class trainer. And I was doing a move that I've done many times. It's a box squat, so it's like a back squat. So you have a barbell on your back. For anyone who doesn't know, you have a barbell on your back. You squat down onto a box. So we use like these big plywood boxes or a bench or something like that. But you squat down onto a surface, pause for a second, and then come back up. And what that does is it kind of takes out some of that elastic rebound that you can kind of get out of a squat when you go down and kind of use the elasticity of your muscles. The box squat, when you pause on that box, it takes that away, so it makes the squat that much harder. Now, at this point, when I was doing these squats, I was warming up, I was able to do sets of 415 pounds box squat. Like, I could do reps, 5 to 8 reps. I'm not sure how many, but I could. That was my working weight. It wasn't like a 1 rep max, because it's hard to do 1 rep max on a box squat. But needless to say, I was strong enough to do it. And when I was doing the reps, I was warming up for doing this reps. I usually have a spotter for the actual working sets. Again, we're trained athletes. Like, we've been in the gym, at least at this point, being trained in this scenario for 3 years at this point. Like, we were comfortable in the gym, and I didn't feel like I needed a spotter at the time. And then my buddy was over talking to our other teammates. My buddy who was spotting me, and I did it, and I paused, and I was doing it. I had about 285 on my back. I squatted down, did my pause on the box, and then came back up And when I came back up, I like hyperextended the lower part of my back. And it felt like a fucking searing hot poker jabbed right into my lower back. Like I felt right exactly where the pain was happening. I had to like let the weight kind of fall, and then I really couldn't bend forward at the hips. So like I had no hip flexion. I couldn't even like raise my knee up. So if I was like standing to raise my knee up into like a chair position, no chance. So I actually had to like go up and down stairs backwards, where I was like just bending the knee going up backwards. So my buddy Murph, who was my spotter, was helping me out, took me over to our sports medicine clinic that was at Western Fowler Kennedy Center for Sports Medicine. And we were getting like, I mean, our team trainers can't really give out like good drugs. So our one of our team trainers got a bunch of naproxen, which is kind of like high powered ibuprofen. But like it was a pretty, I was in rough shape. So my buddy Murph ended up getting me home, sits me down, or like drops me off at home. I'm like, all right, man, thanks. And then he leaves and I go lie down in bed because I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm just going to go lie down. And when I laid down in my bed, as soon as I did that, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to stand back up on my own. As soon as it happened. So I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? I knew I had to go to the hospital. I guess I could have called my buddy Murph back, who was helping me out. But I felt like I already put him through the trouble. And like I said, I had to go to the hospital, and I was like, I want to be seen. So like, this is a big deal. And I probably like need help that maybe Murph couldn't necessarily provide. Like, I don't even know if I had to be on like a spinal board or whatever. But anyways, the boys come on in. The two paramedics show up at my house. The door's open. They come on in. And they help me stand up. Actually, I forgot but when Murph dropped me off, I was walking around the house with two hockey sticks because my roommates played hockey. So I had these hockey sticks, and I was using them as crutches. But as soon as the paramedics helped me in, they like put me on a stretcher and got me into the ambulance and stuff, and like locked the door and stuff, and drove over to University Hospital. And I laid there for indeterminate amount of time. It's hard to exactly say how long I was there. I essentially, as soon as I got there, was like, hey, like I severely hurt my back. I need like some painkillers basically, because I was just like in so much pain. In fact, I'm in a little bit of pain right now. But I was like, I just need some, and I was like asking for Percocet. At this point, I already had a shoulder surgery, and, you know, I'd been a football player for a few years, so I kind of knew what kind of pain management was required at the time. And I think the doctors were there. I mean, it's London. It's whatever. It's University Hospital. I guess I didn't make a big deal about like, oh, I'm on the football team. I wasn't like a star on the football team. But I'm pretty sure they kind of thought that I was like a bit of like, not that I was a bit of, but there was a chance that I was like a junkie and just like trying to get pills and just like, oh, my back is fucked up, man. Like I need some fucking pills, man, my fucking back, which I'm sure is probably a move that a lot of people who are in pain or struggling with addiction or whatever, they do that potentially to get some pills. So I understand, and I didn't feel like hassled and like what the fuck, but they kept me there for a while. Let's just put, it was like 3 hours, I think, overall. Like, and yeah, it's the merge and the wheels move slowly for people who aren't like in life or death scenario. I get it. Anyway, the doctor like it came over and examined me after like all that time, and he actually like punched my back. He was like, all right, I'm gonna like, because I was like, yeah, it's all like in there, but I think because my muscles were so seized, he just wanted to see like if he knocked it, like if there was any structural damage. And I think that's why he ruled out any structural damage, because he did punch my back and I didn't like hit the roof freaking out. I might have, if it was like a herniated disc or like a displaced disc potentially. I'm not 100% sure, but he did that and I passed with flying carpets apparently. He gave me like a couple Percocets to be like, all right, here, like this will get you through the night, and then wrote me a script for some more that I could get the next day. And then I called my buddy Murph back because I was like, all right, I just need a ride home now. We don't need to go too crazy. And I was like feeling the doctor had given me some and it was starting to kick in. And one of our other buddies was also kind of dealing with some severe injuries and had some other he had some Tylenol 3s, and we were like, hey, like trading pills and being like, hey, these work better, and like check this. And it's like as soon as I came over, he's like, hey, I'll give you some of those for these. And it's like hilarious. I mean, it's funny at the time anyway, but for the next 3 weeks, because it was right before the season started, for the next 3 weeks, I was in physio like every day. I quit my job at that point because of the injury. And I was like determined to play that year, because that year I was playing Beefs and I was going to be like, all right, I'm going to play Beefs and I'm going to show that I can fucking play football and I'll get a chance to play at Western. And every day I'm in physio. Like honestly, I was on top of it and it just like slowly got better. And the physio was like, okay, I think it's these facet joints. So in your spine, in your vertebrae, if anyone knows what your vertebrae look like, if not, you have, you know, the round area that kind of goes around your spinal column, the main part of the vertebrae. And then you kind of have these wings that come outside the vertebrae. And on the edges of those wings, they have these little joints that articulate with the other vertebrae. You have 33 to 34 vertebrae, and all of them articulate with each other. The only ones that are like a little bit different are your like C1 and C2 are kind of shaped a little bit different. But most of them have these wings that articulate with each other. And where those points of articulation occur are called facet joints or facet joints. And there's a little bit of a meniscus there, like a small bit of cartilage there, just so it's not bone on bone. And what my physios were saying is that because I hyperextended my vertebrae so much, I actually pinched that little bit of cartilage there. And that's what kind of how I hurt my back. So she worked on a lot of mobility stuff and got me back, and I played that whole season. I mean, I feel like I did more damage to my shoulder than anything that season than my back, because it didn't really bother me here and there. I felt like I had to stretch it out, but it was a-okay. Honestly, it was fine from then on. And then here and there, I'd kind of tweak it. There was one time where this was like years after, and I was working at a gym, and we went to like a little bit of a team building thing, and we went to this trampoline place, and my back was fucked up after that. So like maybe I do have a herniated disc. Anyway, because I always found if my posterior chain, so like my calves, my hamstrings, my glutes, anywhere like that got tight, it would really bother my back, like after a long walk or something like that. It didn't really ever bother me too much when I was playing basketball again. But yeah, like I'd have these little tweaks that would happen, and it would put me out maybe a day, other than that one time, like I said, after the trampoline thing, you know, which is like crazy. It would usually bounce back after a day or two, and I'd be totally fine. Get nice and loose in the hamstrings, make sure I'm nice and stretched out, and I'd be a-okay. After the Super Bowl this year, so a few months ago now, after the Super Bowl this year, I was sitting on the couch at my mom's watching it, and I feel like the way I was sitting on the couch, because I just didn't have like a lot of back support, I was like really bent over, really tweaked my back. And usually when I do tweak my back, it's sore and then slowly starts to get better. But the way it did after the Super Bowl this year, I was just like, I woke up in the morning, was doing my thing, and slowly but surely over the day, just the pain got worse and worse and worse. And it was like, this is fucking weird. I haven't had this happen before. So I was like, all right, I'm finally going to go to my chiropractor, who's more like a physiotherapist. I know chiropractic is kind of a big fucking scary word, but I go to my physio and talk to him, who I usually have gone to see about my shoulder, and he's worked wonders. He kind of just like resets it. I see him for a couple weeks in a row and everything's A-okay again. I got to go see him bad. But, but I went to go see him for my back for the first time. And one of the first things he said, which he was worried about, was a herniated disc. And he doesn't, I don't think he thinks it's a herniated disc as much anymore, but no one has ever really told me that it might have a herniated disc. No one said anything about discs before. It was the facet joint before, and that's it. But I have never had any imaging done on it either. I'm not necessarily too inclined to think that it's a herniated disc because I don't really feel the shooting pains. I don't have kind of the sciatic pains that are associated usually with herniated discs in that area, and my SI joint seems to be acting up quite a bit. So that's your sacroiliac joint, and where your sacrum, like the very, very bottom part of your spine, meets your, like your tailbone meets your hip, the iliac joint. That articulates a little bit. It's not like, it doesn't move a lot, but that moves a little bit, and that joint can get inflamed and messed with, and it can open up too much. It can be compressed too much, all these different things. So there's different exercises that they can give, but we'll get to those in a second. And the reason I bring that up is because, you know, I never really thought that my back injury was going to be something. Well, that's not true. When I first hurt my back, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to deal with this now for the rest of my life. You know, I have some family members who have dealt with back injuries before, and it's just something that kind of flares up and you have to deal with it. But I never really knew the severity of it. And like I said, because it would come and go, I didn't think it was necessarily something that was going to be ongoing. So, but ever since my physio told me that it might be a herniated disc, it's been bothering me basically ever since. Like, it's kind of come and gone. But including the gym, which I've probably exacerbated things a little bit more, it's definitely been bothering me more than it ever has. And like I said, maybe just with this general sickness that I have right now, it's been front of mind. But again, I wanted to open this discussion up to anyone who's ever had any back problems, right? Anyone who's ever had, my buddy John's dealing with the exact same thing with his SI joint right now, which he actually got improperly, like he was shown improper technique by a personal trainer, which again, I take umbrage with, because being a personal trainer, you know, you gotta be careful when you're teaching people things, right? You know, you're taking them in your own hands, and sometimes people are too willy-nilly, and I really disagree with the approach that John's trainer took with him, and I think that injured him, I know that is what injured him, and that's really not good. So I know that there's other people out there that are dealing with back injuries. So if you do have remedies, if you have anything that works, I remember when I was working as a personal trainer and dealing with these back injuries, I was given this book called The 8 Steps to a Better Back, and I still haven't fucking read it, but maybe now's the time, because again, check out that book. It's really cool. I've leafed through it. You know, it talks about stretching. It talks about strengthening your core. It talks about different regimens you can keep in mind. Different maintenance routines. All about maintenance. That's the key to that book. Maintenance is that you have to kind of be in front of your back. You have to be on top of things. You know, working out, strengthening that core, doing those exercises that are going to prevent those injuries in the future, or those flare-ups, I should say. You know, like I said, my physio gave me some exercises that help. One being literally just, so again, everyone's going to have different back injuries and issues. I had a friend of mine, he had a thoracic injury in his back, which is a little bit higher. Obviously you can have a multitude of neck injuries all the way up the spinal cord. But mine is my lower back, my lumbar, like L5, L4, the lowest part of the lower back, basically. And then the SI joint, like I said, the sacroiliac joint. And there's issues down there. And one of the things that helps me is basically just laying on your stomach in a propped up position, like you're propped up on your elbows, not like a full cobra, not like you're trying to levitate up there. It's just a supported position where you're really arching that back. And that's kind of, I think, putting my spine in a position where it's supported through the ground, and the rest of my body is supported, and it can kind of ease a little bit of that tension. But I really need to get some imaging done on my back anyway. That's for sure, to know exactly what's going on. But the laying on the stomach really helps. There's another one where it might be hard to explain, but you sit on something where your legs are dangling. A little bit hard for me. I have to sit on like my couch, my kitchen counter, and so your legs are dangling, and you reach for 5 seconds with one leg, reach for 5 seconds with another leg. Like, it's not like you're trying to like push yourself into the ground, but you're just like reaching towards the ground. And then you push your both legs together, hold that for 5 seconds, and then repeat. And honestly, I've done that sometimes, and you feel like a little click in the lower back. So something's working, something's helping down there. Bird dogs, hip bridges, things like that. Those are all things that help. But again, not everyone can afford to go see a physio, and I'm lucky to have a health spending account with my work, and I can, look at that and use that. Sorry, I can use that towards my health plan. But again, that's the hardest thing, is that like not a lot of people can afford, let alone the primary care, where it's like going to the gym, taking vitamins, eating well, doing all those things. That's primary care. That's getting ahead of injuries. Let alone people can barely afford tertiary care, where you're already injured. You're already dealing with something that's going on. As much as I need the imaging done, I still wonder, how much of my back being sore right now is psychosomatic, right? Since my physio told me, it's been, on my mind. And, I've had like some stress at work, and, lots of things happening with the band. Hopefully things are going well in life and everything like that. And, you can harbor, thoughts and feelings and emotions in your physical body kind of thing. And, maybe that's also adding to it. But like I said, that's the next step. I got to get some imaging done on it. So, who knows? Maybe it's just carrying that weight. Carrying that weight a long time. The Beatles said I got to. So I will. Again, please, I want to make this a conversation. I want to hear if anyone has had any issues with their back. What have you done? What helps? What makes it feel better? Tell us. Talk about it. Let's spread the word, spread the love. I always wanted to build the Bigmark community. So let us know. If you know anyone, if you're dealing with it, what do you do? What helps? Because I want to help me, help you, help me. Anyway, thank y'all. I love y'all. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Patreon, YouTubes, Instagrams. Love y'all. Peace.